crucial evidence. And Malian President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita takes oath again, this time in front of international guests of honor. And we start with legal dissonance in Libya. Former dictator Muammar Gaddafi's son, Saif al-Islam, appeared at a court hearing in the western town of Zintan Thursday. He's being held there by militias since the end of the war. Those very militia groups defied orders from the capital to send Saif al-Islam to Tripoli for another trial. That court case involves 38 former regime officials in all, including former Libyan spy chief Abdallah Senussi. One of his lawyers spoke with us earlier. She echoes the ICC's opinion that the new Libya still isn't ready to try its former leaders.
Today, Libya cannot guarantee someone a fair trial, and even less so a member of the former regime close to Gaddafi. That's the point the ICC made concerning Saif al-Islam. My client risks the death penalty. That's what happened this summer to another member of the Gaddafi regime, who was not as high up. And we know the death penalty will be handed out.
Disputing the police's account of what happened last year in Marikana, the South African Commission of Inquiry looking into the August 2012 incident says it found thousands of pages of documents that had previously been withheld. According to the Commission's spokesperson, those documents provide new evidence that contests the police's version of the events that left 34 striking minors dead.
It does appear that the police, in most likelihood, have not been cooperative fully with the Commission, and the evidence that they have been put forth has been evidence that there was pre-planned that does not necessarily reflect what happened in Marikana is concerned. This is the view of the evidence leaders. But of course, these documents have not been seen by the commissioners themselves. And they have not, as a consequence, can't make any findings on what they have not seen. This is a case that has been put forth by the evidence leading team, and it needs to be tested. The police must be given a fair opportunity for them to be able to can respond directly in terms of giving the side of the story.
Those who have it often take it for granted. Access to clean, running water is essential for healthy living. The growing West African hub of Dakar is now home to more than 1 million people. And in the last few days, water shortages have been rife, even in neighborhoods where faucets usually run freely. Tatiana Musso and Katerina Vitozzi report.
Not a drop for the past week. The tap in this building, as in hundreds of thousands of other homes, has run dry. Around 3 families live here. One option for those going thirsty, to head to a local water distribution point. From 4 a.m, armed with buckets and containers, women wait in line.
We can't drink, we can't cook, we can't wash ourselves or wash the children's clothes.
Businesses are being affected too, like this fresh fish exporter. It sells red mullet, sole and grouper to European and American markets, around 500 tons per year. Although they are getting water in drips and drops, the company's director knows every last bit is precious.
The very strict European norms mean we can't wash the fish. And, secondly, we can't make ice. Yet ice is indispensable to transport fresh fish by plane.
This water cut-off is down to a problem with one of the 2 pipes supplying the capital. A first fix attempt failed. Water providers promise business as usual by Thursday evening. But that usual is far from perfect. In some parts of Dakar, water supply is frequently cut off. That's been the case for years.
Normally, the situation will improve a lot at the end of December. Emergency measures will be ready. 17,000 cubic meters per day will be available.
Dakar's population is rapidly expanding, and with it, demand for amenities. Water is just one problem. Haphazard electricity supply is another of life's daily challenges.
More than 24 heads of state, a stadium filled with pomp and circumstance. Mali's Ibrahim Boubacar Keita was at the center of inauguration ceremonies in Bamako, the first since a coup d'etat in March of last year that allowed Tuareg and Islamist rebels to gain control of the country's north, prompting a French-led intervention to restore the country's territorial integrity. IBK, as the Malian president is commonly called, spent much of his speech thanking leaders present for their help in piecing the country back together.
Thank you to those who did not hesitate to send their children to fight and die for a free, democratic Mali. We are eternally grateful to them. We are blood brothers. There is a pact of honor between us.
I'm joined now by Mark Perelman, who's with us live from Bamako. Mark, the Malian president was officially inaugurated earlier this month, but Thursday's ceremony was IBK's chance to bring together a number of heads of state. We saw him hug French President François Hollande. Who else was warmly received?
The most warmly received was the president of Chad, Idriss Déby, who was greeted at the March 26 stadium here today when he arrived and when he delivered his speech. Why? Because 26 of his soldiers lost their lives during the fighting, and this is more than the French, who've lost 7 soldiers. So Idriss Déby was really recognized for the sacrifice Chad made to salvage Mali. François Hollande was also warmly greeted today. More than the neighboring countries, many of which actually have participated in the African force that is now under UN mandate. However, clearly France and Chad were warmly welcomed, as well as a special welcome for the surprise guest, the King of Morocco, Mohammed VI. It's the first time in half a century that a king from Morocco comes to Mali, and this king has rarely attended such events. So this was really seen as Morocco's willingness to have some influence in the Sahel region, which has generally been seen as Algerian turf. And so Morocco wants to establish itself, and the king is staying tomorrow. He'll pray together. He's scheduled to pray together with the Malian president for the Big Friday prayers tomorrow, as well as have meetings with top officials here. So this was really a remarkable sight to see the King of Morocco come here to Bamako and stay for a while to deliver a very strong economic and political message.
Thank you, Mark, for being live with us from Bamako. Thank you for those details. We end with tourists defying death in Zambia. The so-called Devil's Pool in Victoria Falls is drawing visitors from far and wide. From September, water levels are low enough to approach the very edge of the cliff, with a view that could literally take tourists' breath away if they aren't careful.
The so-called Devil's Swimming Pool sits on top of Victoria Waterfall on Zambia's border with Zimbabwe. Every year, millions of tourists come to visit these spectacular falls and swim in what guides call the world's most frightening swimming pool. Located on top of a 108-meter high waterfall, the natural basin is only accessible in the dry season, from September to December. This is when currents subside and tourists can swim in the pool created by a fence of rocks. And visitors are guaranteed to have an invigorating experience.
Well, this is so fantastic. It's so frighteningly terrifying. You're looking over the edge into the abyss, water splashing all around you. It is a fantastic experience. It's terrifying. All your body has a little nervous quiver, and little fish biting at your ankle make you worried.
But swimming in the Devil's Swimming Pool has its risk, as there's nothing really to separate you from the edge of the falls. And there have been accidents. In 2009, a guide died while trying to save a tourist who had fallen asleep and was about to plunge to their death.
It looks like fun, doesn't it, Mark?
It looks like that's absolutely ridiculous, Shona, isn't it? Would you do that?
You wouldn't do it?
No way.
I would probably stand on the edge and just put my feet in.
Look, it's unfair that the guide lost his life trying to find
to
save the tourist who, was fool enough to do that. Anyway.
That's it for African News.
It looked absolutely fantastic. Shona, thank you very much indeed. Shona Bhattacharya with African News. Back tomorrow, of course. We're taking a short break. After that, we return with another World News update. We also have sport for you too. Dan Levy will look back at the Champions League goals. And do we have goals for you? Stay with us.